Hello, I'm Kira Thorell, founder and executive director of the NICU Parent Network and parent of two surviving 25-weeker triplets and four angel babies. I want to welcome you to NICUnity. NICUnity is our all-encompassing educational initiative to foster a culture of belonging for all members of our community. Our monthly schedule of NICUnity discussions brings together NICU parent leaders, adult former NICU patients, healthcare partners, and maternal infant health stakeholders for candid discussions on diverse experiences in the NICU and beyond. We want to shine a light on those who are often marginalized, silenced, and underestimated. And we're so happy to be able to provide this platform for these authentic conversations. Thank you for joining us as we embark on this journey of learning, growth, and unity. Together, we will build a stronger, more inclusive NICU community, one conversation at a time. So today, we're going to explore the lifelong impacts experienced by adult former preemies. Our guest is going to provide valuable insights on the unique challenges and triumphs faced by individuals who began their lives in the NICU. So I am delighted to welcome today's guest, Christina Gagnon. Christina is a former micro-preemie survivor who weighed just 1 pound 8 ounces at birth and was born at 25 weeks gestation and was given only a 14% chance of survival back in the 80s. She has defied the odds during that NICU stay after developing necrotizing enterocolitis, or NEC, 3 times, suffering from bronchopulmonary dysplasia, or BPD, retinopathy of prematurity, or ROP, and so many heel sticks that they actually altered the architecture of her venous structure in her body, developing a blood clot after a central line infection that resulted in the amputation of all of her toes on her left foot. There were countless times that Christina truly was on the brink of death, but to the surprise of her family and her medical team, she would always turn the corner. And Christina is here today, a happy, healthy adult, and is gracious enough to share her experiences with us. Christina says that she hopes to give back and help out the preemies and the parents of today. She wants to not only tell us what it was like to be born prematurely in the 80s, but to also inspire hope for the current parents of NICU babies. So Christina, thank you so much for being with us. It really does take a great deal of courage to share your story with strangers. And I just want to thank you for doing that today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
So let's just start at the very beginning. I know I kind of gave a list of diagnoses, but is there anything that you want to share? Can you give us a bit of background on your early birth and your NICU stay? You know, what have you been told about your start to life from your parents?
Sure. My birth my birth happened because of placenta abruptio, which is where the placenta has a hole.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no one really knows what happened. It just
Mm-hmm.
science just took over.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be born on my mom's birthday, but instead I was born on October 30th, 1986.
Wow.
And so I was a very high risk pregnancy, and I was born cesarean section.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was just happened extremely fast for my parents. So my mom, yeah, well, basically everything was taken care of by my doctors and my nurses, and my parents had no idea what a NICU was, and they didn't even know it was located in the hospital.
Right.
And
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that a NICU exists unless they have to be there.
yeah, and I was an immediate level 3,
Mm-hmm.
and my parents were they were in their late 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just kids themselves too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't think I asked you this before. Was your mom was her pregnancy high risk from the beginning? Did she have any issues during the pregnancy, or was it just all of a sudden um, the placenta issue occurred?
She had issues from the beginning. She was sick a lot, also from
Hmm.
when she had my sister too. She was sick
Yeah.
a lot.
Okay.
That actually tend to run in my family, was that the
Hmm.
women who got pregnant, they were very violently ill.
Mm.
But
Hmm.
with me, she miscarried at 11 weeks with my
Hmm.
twin. And
Mm.
then
Oh, wow.
she saw that she was carrying twins.
Hmm.
And so she decided to keep me. And she said, well,
Yeah.
let's see where this goes.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
um, then everything happened with me
Hmm. Right.
with the early pregnancy.
Right. And so how long were you in the NICU? Do you know how many months you were there?
7 months, which
7 months.
was 212 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it
That
was
is
a
a
very
long
long
NICU
time.
stay.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was almost a year.
Yeah. Yep. That is a really long time.
Yeah, from October
Um,
to April. So it
yeah.
was a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things when you and I spoke earlier, it was really clear that your mom has just been a huge supporter and advocate for you. Can you share with us that quote that she always told you?
Oh yeah, sure, sure. That time is my best friend.
And
Yes.
how has that helped you throughout your life, knowing that time is your best friend, kind of having that being repeated to you?
Well, mostly everything in my life has been delayed.
Hmm.
And so, I guess everything takes time.
Yeah.
So, I guess with me, there's always been some type of a delay with actually almost everything. It just
Hmm.
happens that way with me. It's really weird. But so it just naturally happens. So I
Yeah.
guess, okay, here's a delay with this, then
Hmm.
this, then this.
Right.
So I'm all right. I'm just gonna have to deal with time, and then it happens.
Yeah. I remember when I was in the NICU with my girls and
Mhm.
um, the the neonatologist saying, progress is not going to be measured in days or weeks. It's going to be measured in months and years. And that's kind of the same thing that, you just have to let your babies do what they're going to do on their own timeline. And it sounds
Yeah,
like that's kind of what your mom really instilled in you, not just as an infant, but obviously throughout your life as well.
yeah. I just always rely on the clock.
Hmm. Yep. So I read a blog post that you wrote for one of our members, Project NICU, and you said, I didn't really have a childhood. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
Well, sure. It was kind of like split up between,
Hmm.
like, I had school and I had doctor's appointments, and then I also had a little bit time to play. It
Hmm.
was split up
Yeah.
because I also was sick a lot too.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because when you're a preemie, you get sick a lot. I don't know if it's like that for your daughters at all, if they get sick quite frequently, but
Hmm.
that's what it's like for me. And
Right.
so it's like always go to a doctor's appointment, always with medicine. You're always in the waiting room.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like that.
Right. Yeah. I remember, my kids definitely had a long list of therapists and specialists that we had to see. So we were always in a doctor's office, at least a few times a week, or they were coming to our house if it was therapy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, because of those lungs that are still growing and the BPD, it definitely leaves you more susceptible with that weakened immune system. And so do you feel then that you kind of missed out on things as a child compared to your peers or your friends?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was always um on some exam table
Mm, hmm.
being looked at by some doctor or nurse always in front of my face.
Yeah.
Always, they were always here. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
all right. You know, it's what I'm used to.
Right. So has that been the same, obviously in your early childhood, right after the NICU, but what about your teen years? Did that continue through your teen years? Or do you feel like you kind of had a
Yeah,
teenage life like any
yeah,
other
yeah,
teen?
I did, but it was less with the therapy, but I
Mm-hmm.
still was sick a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then we also moved around a lot because of my dad's job.
Oh, okay.
So there was that as well. But
Yeah.
we mostly lived in Orlando, Florida
Mm-hmm.
during my teen years. That's where we lived.
Okay.
And you know, and it gets moldy a lot there. And
Mm-hmm.
then I have asthma. So my
Mm-hmm.
asthma would act up a lot and I would get sick.
Yeah.
And I'd be out for like maybe a month because of my
Oh,
asthma.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough. And one time at school, I think it was one Valentine's Day, my asthma was acting up so bad where I had an asthma attack in my mom's class.
Oh,
Excuse me. And where I couldn't control it.
oh
And
no.
um, they had the administration come up because they
Yeah.
didn't think I was going to make it. It was that
Oh,
scary.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
was
goodness.
terrifying. It was that
That
scary.
must, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then what happened was after was that my mom had to immediately take me to my allergist to
Right.
make sure that I was okay. And she's like,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, everyone, but Christina has to go to the doctor. And so they took the rest of the kids to another class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that you could
It
be
was just
attended
is
to.
yeah, it was just too
Yeah.
scary because I couldn't stop
Wow.
coughing. Because
Mm.
when I have an asthma attack, I get this terrible like old man cough.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible sounding. And
No.
like cigarette smoke can trigger it. Any
Mm-hmm.
if temperatures, mostly the cold can trigger it. It's awful. And
Yeah.
so that was it was really scary, but luckily I got it all handled with
Good.
that day. That was really scary. And
Yeah.
I had multiple asthma attacks that day too.
Oh, wow. So I'm assuming that asthma is just a part of your life now.
Yes.
Are there other conditions that you still have to deal with regularly as an adult now?
Yes, that cardiovascular disease I told you about earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
that's constant. And then I have this condition called pericardial effusion, where it's just like a sac around my heart. And my
Mm-hmm.
cardiologist says, "Oh, you've always had that."
Mm-hmm.
I just recently got diagnosed with that, like maybe a year or two ago, and I didn't even
Okay.
know I had that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's that. And
Yeah.
I can't even bend down for things anymore because I get very dizzy and nauseous and I feel like I'm gonna pass out.
Oh,
So
wow.
people have to bend down to get things for me because I can't
Mhm.
bend down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I heard you on another podcast and you talked about being an angry child um at at some point in your life. I'm assuming that's because there were things that you wanted to be able to do that you couldn't do. It was frustrating. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It was because I was confused about my early years. I just
Yeah.
was angry.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're a kid, you can't really get everything out that you want
Right.
to.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard
Hmm.
to express yourself at a young age.
Right.
I got things out angry,
Hmm.
with I'm sorry, with anger. Uh,
Yeah.
That's how I
And
did. I'm not angry anymore,
right.
but
I was gonna say you've obviously, you know, do you know how you were able to work through that? Was that just, again, one of those things where, time was your best friend and you just had to be able to develop a little bit more to kind of be able to understand things better?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, I even apologized to my mom. I said, I'm really
Oh,
sorry for being so angry when I was a kid. She's like,
yeah.
it's fine. You were confused. It's not
Hmm.
your fault at all.
Yeah.
My dad was the same way. He goes, you had a tough beginning.
Yeah,
I mean, it
absolutely.
just, just you can't really like um help yourself the way you were born. It's just you're born the
Mhm.
way that you are, it just
Right.
happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, I mean, I think one of the things just in talking to you the couple times that we've talked is that it's so obvious how supportive and loving and nurturing your parents have been throughout your life and how important that is um, for, former NICU babies to have that family relationship and that family support because there are going to be things that are going to be challenging for the child throughout their lives at different points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, neonatology in the 80s was obviously quite different than it is now. And we've really had some, amazing medical and technological, excuse me, developments that are allowing, earlier and earlier babies to live. But we also know that the NICU, I mean, you were there for a long time, 7 months, but in the grand scheme of your entire life, it's quite a short time in comparison to your whole life. So what I would like to know, because I know we've covered, some of the challenges that you've had. I'm wondering if there are ways in which being born early has impacted your life in a positive way.
Yes, because I wouldn't be me
Mm,
without all of this happening,
yeah.
I mean, I was born early for a reason, I think, to tell my story, to help people, to help preemie parents, to help doctors and nurses and other people working in the medical field, in the NICU, because of it.
Yeah.
I think, yes, my humble beginnings were very terrifying. I think it happened for a reason.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, that's what I think.
yeah. Well, we're very grateful to have someone like you who has had that start to life and is able to share what that experience is like. 'Cause, I think I think a lot of people really focus on the baby portion of the life of a preterm baby, and then and then in a lot of ways we don't know what happens for these kids on later in life as they get older and into adulthood. Um, so and that kind of brings me to my next question, in that many of those who are listening or will listen are parents of NICU babies,
Yeah.
whether they were preterm or full term, and they've been told and maybe have been diagnosed with conditions that they'll have for their lives. So, what do you want those parents to know about raising and caring for their children?
Well, to give them unconditional love, because I think
Mm,
that's the thing that really, truly helps the baby survive, because that's what my parents gave me, and to truly
yeah.
want their child, because
Mm,
that's what my parents did, and that's what my parents still have done
hmm.
with me and my sister, is to
Yeah.
want us, and they still
Mm,
want us,
yeah.
even at 37 and 41.
Yeah.
That's I think that's the key thing.
Yeah. That's really beautiful.
Thank you.
And and then I would ask you the same question for the medical community. What would you most like to see improve so that adult former NICU patients are supported throughout their life and not just in the NICU?
I think to have more recognition,
Hmm.
because it's mainly focused on children and babies.
Right.
There's really nothing for adult survivors out there,
Hmm.
and I
Right.
think that should be recognized more.
Hmm.
Because
Yep.
what about the adult and adult survivors, and also even senior survivors out there, because there are
Mhm.
seniors who
Mhm.
survived, and there's nothing out there for them
Right.
too.
Yeah.
I think that seniors and adults should be recognized.
Yeah. And I think that's, one of the beautiful things about the Adult Preemie Advocacy Network that, which is how we found you,
Yeah.
through that network that you're a part of, and that's really one of those key points I think that they're really advocating for is that recognition um, throughout life in education and medical and everything. So I couldn't agree more. Um, so as we close our chat, you told me last time that you're working on a book. What can you tell us about it?
Well, the book, I'm still editing the book. I just passed my class for nonfiction and publishing.
Hmm.
So I'm really happy about that. But I need to get to editing,
Hmm.
finish editing my book.
Yeah.
So I want that to be for anyone who's interested in reading it,
Yeah.
not for just a specific audience. Anybody can read
Hmm.
it, you know,
Yeah.
medical, non-medical, you know, senior, former preemie, it doesn't matter. Anybody can read it. But it's
Sure.
coming from my side as a
Hmm.
former micro preemie, you know, not just the parent point of view.
Right.
But you know, I wanted to write my book since I was 12.
Oh,
And
really?
yes, yes.
Oh,
And
wow.
my therapist, he told me, he said, you know, you have a tremendous story and I think it should be told. And I said, okay. So I started writing it at age 32 and I finally
Hmm.
stopped. And I've been writing it for about 6 years now. And now
Hmm.
I'm editing it. I
Oh,
have been
wow.
editing it for a few years,
Hmm.
I'm sorry, for a few months.
Yeah.
And so I'm finally there. Now I have to finish that and then hopefully I can get a literary agent and then work from there.
Well, that is very exciting, and we'll definitely have to have you back on when you have it published because I know a lot of people that would like to read it, including
Thank
myself.
thank you.
So, well, Christina, I just want to thank you so much. The voice and experiences and perspectives of former NICU patients is really critical for our community to hear. And just thank you for sharing with us and thank you for writing this book so we can learn even more about your life and your experiences. So I want to thank everybody listening. We really are intentional in our efforts to make participating in the NICU Parent Network, NICUnity educational offerings as simple as possible. So please make sure to mark your calendars for our monthly offerings that we publish on our Facebook page, through Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And you can also always head over to our website, NICUparentnetwork.org, and get added to our mailing list to make sure you don't miss any announcements or updates. So, with that, we will end our conversation. And I thank you again, Christina, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.